what we're discussing here is the 18 things that that were a machlekes Shammai and Hillel, but Shammai overpowered Hillel in numbers, so they had to paskin like Shammai. And these were the 18 things that were instituted in the attic of Hanani ben Chizki ben Goren. When they went to visit him, he was there writing his commentary on the book of Yechezkel. If not for him, we said that we would have put the book of Yechezkel into Shemus. Nignas means we would have hid it away. It wouldn't have been part of the canon because of the contradictions. So they went to visit him. At that time, there were more students of Shammai than Hillel, so they made 18 decrees. When we first started this Gemara, we said a list of 9 or 10 things. I say 9 or 10 because the last one was food and vessels that became impure with liquid. So how do you read that? Is that one of the 18 or is that 2 of the 18? Food and vessels. So you could read it as 1 or 2. And then also one of the cases we had to remove because we said Vatul Yomi we had to take out. So that leaves us with 9 or 8. Okay, so then we added in some others. We said, well, we had some questions, and then we added in some others here. Yesterday we did according to one opinion, the vessels that are underneath the drain in the courtyard, that are those vessels that it goes into the mikveh. We said that was a machlekes Beishamai and Beisilel, but then Beisilel agreed to Beishamai. However, Rabbi Yosi said that there's still a machlekes, so we had to add in some others to fill in for the 18. Today we do another several. We do Ve'idach. The first one is Mahi. What else? Say machlekes Shammai and Hillel. Let me adjust that. What else is machlekes Shammai and Hillel? And we paskin like Shammai because Shammai overruled them. The Tanana was taught in the Mishnah. Kol metaltlin, maybe in a satuma, maybe amardea. Okay, so this rule like this, that a vessel that hovers over a grave, and so you would have underneath this this little beam or whatever it is, a grave, a corpse, and another utensil, another vessel. So this is considered an oyel. It's a tent. It hovers over 2 things, the tumah and what used to be tahar. So that makes what's the other item tummy. So how thick does this item need to be for it to be considered a tent? So the Mishnah over here says, "Ba'ivei amardeya," the thickness of a handle of a plow. Now, apparently, a handle of a plow is not as thick as we were expecting. We wanted that it should be a tefach. A tefach is considered a significant shear. So that could be considered an oyel, a tefach. Here we're saying even if it's less than a tefach. Ba'ivei amardeya. Rashi tells us already what the significance of ba'ivei amardeya is because the circumference, it doesn't have in the diameter a tefach. It has in the diameter probably a third of a tefach. The circumference of the ba'ivei amardeya, the thickness of this plow handle, that's a tefach, right? So, Amar Rab Tarfon says, very strong statement. Akapeachas banai. I guess it means he'll bury his children, or his children should die if shazu halacha mikupachas. That this is a cut-off halacha. This is a halacha that wasn't learned properly. Very strong statement. I don't know the end of the story. Sheshama hashemei avata. The person that heard this halacha, made a mistake. What was the mistake? It says ha'ikar over. What happened was you had the farmer, and he was walking. Umardei al ksefei. He has the plow handle over his shoulder. V'il tzidei achas ala kever, and one edge of this plow handle went over the grave. So timu aisei mishum kelim hamahilam alames. There's two separate halachas here that got confused. One is if this item is an oihel. Okay, this is the plow handle. If this would be a tefach, it would be an oil, and the corpse was over here, and the vessel was over here. The vessel would become tamei. Now, let's say this is not a tefach. This is just the handle of a plow. So this item itself is mahil ala mes. It hovered over the corpse. So although it doesn't spread tamei to anything else, but it itself is a vessel that became tamei. Okay, so it's a vessel that became tamei. The mace itself is avia vaisatama. This becomes an avatama. The farmer that's touching it is a rishon. He touched an avatama. The rule is that if you touch an avatama, you're tamei only till evening. So this person should be tamei till evening. This is what Reb Tarfon is saying. Really should be tamei till evening. What happened was the person that heard this halacha made a mistake. He thought that when they said that the oivei amardeya gives off tumah, he thought that it meant that it not only does it become tamei and touching it gives off tumah, he thought it meant that it gives off tumah through oil as well. That even not touching it, just being under the same roof, tiny roof, would also give off tumah. That's Reb Tarfon's opinion of this statement. He says it's a mistake because the person didn't hear all of the logic in there. So, Amar Rabbi Akiva says to Reb Tarfon, Ani asakin, I can fix it. I can explain it in a better way. That what the sages said is actually correct. How? Rabbi Akiva says like this. There's a little bit of a concern. People may think that the person that touched the oivei amardeya, the people that touched the plow handle, they're only tamei until evening. And people may think that tumas oihel, people may think that that's a regular tumas oihel. Look, the guy was under it, at least his shoulder was under it. They may not associate it that it's a step removed, that this became tamei, and then the person touched this. They may think that it's a tumas oil, that it went from the corpse to the person because there was a mardeya hovering over both of them. There was a plow handle hovering over both of them. They may think that when you don't actually come in physical contact with the corpse, you don't need 7 days of waiting in the tumah. They think that you become tahar that evening by just going to the mikveh. Why? Because you didn't actually touch it. You just went under the same roof. And in this case, that's the truth. Because he wasn't under the same roof, because the mardeya isn't thick enough to be considered a roof. The mardeya becomes tamei because it's a vessel that hovered over it. He becomes tamei because he touched the vessel. So he's 2 steps removed off the tumah. So in this case, he only has to wait till evening. But people may think that that's a regular tumas oil, and tumas oil only goes till evening. So because of that, they said that anything that's the size of a mardeya gives off tumas oil as well, that you have to wait 7 days, even though it's not a full tefach. Rabbi Akiva is explaining why the Chachamim were strict about this, because people may make mistake and say that tumas oil doesn't go for 7 days. That it's not a serious tumah. Okay. Ve'amar Rabbi Yanai, and Rabbi Yanai explains, Mardeya she'amru ein ba'aviv tefach. When we said that there's a mardeya, which means a handle of a plow, that's talking about where you don't have the thickness of it, isn't a tefach. However, v'yesh be'keif tefach, but the circumference of it is a tefach. V'gozra ala keif mishum mavya. And there's a decree here that they made a decree because its circumference is a tefach. It means if you take a string and you wrap it around, that the size of that string would be a tefach. So they made a decree that it should be tamid as if it had a diameter of a tefach. Okay. So we have one extra item to add to the to add up to the 18 that we're looking for in the machlekes Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. The problem is that this was a machlekes. According to Reb Tarfon, that says that this is definitely not the case. So we're missing one because he says that this is not, it's not even correct. So this can't be a decree that Beis Shammai said and Beis Hillel had to follow. He doesn't agree to the whole thing. So yesterday we ended off with this. We said that you have to consider the daughters of Kutim always to be tamei, even from the day that they're born, even as babies, even in the cradle, because they don't keep, they don't consider them tamei if they would actually see blood, because they don't learn the psukim the same way we do. So therefore, you consider all of them tamei. Normally, the Kutim kept the laws of Tumah and Tara, and so you can trust them. But there was this one item, this one instance where they didn't follow the way that we read it, which was that a girl becomes tamei even from the day that she's born if she actually sees blood. So therefore, we consider all Kutim to be on that in that status that they're tamei from when they're born. Kutim girls. Okay, so that was another decree. So Rab Tarfon would use that one to fill in for the missing one because he loses one of the 18 of it right here. He doesn't hold of it. And he's also going to have to hold, we had a machlekes Reb Meir and Rabbi Yosi regarding buckets that are in the courtyard collecting rain. That if we had a machlekes, if that's a machlekes Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, Rabbi Yosi says yes, and they never accept. Beis Hillel never accepted. And Rabbi Meir says no. Beis Hillel then accepted Beis Shammai's opinion, so that would be one of the 18. So Reb Tarfon, in order to replace what he lost, so he has first of all B'nai Skutim, and he also has the he'll go like Reb Meir, who holds that Beis Hillel agreed to Beis Shammai in the case of the mikveh. V'idach, now we're filling this in. I think we're up to 12 or something. They don't give us clearly a number, although I bet in the commentaries in the art scroll or something, there's a number attributed to it. It's going to be complicated because you have to hold several numbers in place because we have different opinions where we're holding. Okay, v'idach, another case that could add up to the 18 decrees of Beis Shammai. So it's a baitza lagas. If grapes are picked to be pressed into wine. Now, sometimes a little bit of juice comes out. Normally, juice isn't machshel l'kabel tumah. It's not one of the 7 liquids that cause food to become susceptible to tumah. But in this instance, if he wants that juice, so then it will be considered. It's like he makes it significant because he's collecting it to make wine. So Shammai says that all these grapes could become tamei, which creates an issue. Why? Because all the utensils that you now use in the winemaking process need to be tahar. So all the koshering that they do to make fine kosher wine not only needs to be kashered with heat, but it also needs to be put into the mikveh. If you hold like habayt selagas, if the grapes get wet by the juice that comes out of them. Hillel says no, they're not susceptible to tumah, so you don't have to worry about the vessels. Amalei Hillel Shammai. Hillel says to Shammai, what's going on? How come you're so strict about picking grapes? That has to be done with all the vessels need to be pure. The people there need to be pure. When it comes to picking olives, you don't have the same concern. So Amalei, he says to him, if you're still going to continue pestering me, because Reni Tamafala Masika, I'll decree Tama on that as well. Like you're getting away easy. Stop pestering me. So not to Cherev Beis HaMedrash. They put a sword in the Beis HaMedrash. Amra hanichnas yikanis. Anyone that's entering can enter. I guess it was sharp on one side. And but if you want to leave, you can't leave. In other words, they wanted to come to a conclusion here. So you can go in, but you can't go out until they make a decree here. On this day, Hillel was like subdued, sitting in front of Shammai like one of the students. Apparently, the teachers would face the students, all the important people. In this instance, Hillel left his chair, he was the Nasi, and he sits amongst the students facing Shammai, like Shammai is now in charge. It was as difficult for the Jewish people like the day that the Eagle was made. I don't know the significance of that term. Maybe it has to do with the leadership, like a replaced leader. The Eagle was a replaced Moshe. Here Shammai is replacing Hillel as the leader. I didn't get a chance to check on the commentary on that. If anyone sees anything. It's a very strong term. It's the second strong term we had. Tarfin zakapeches banai, and then kiyom shenasa b'yegel. Okay, v'gozer Shammai v'Hillel v'leikiblim minayo. They made a decree at this point that yes, baitze legas, it's going to become tamei. If someone plucks the grapes and the juice comes out, it's going to be susceptible to tumah. However, at this point, they didn't accept the decree. And then later on, the students decreed it again, and then at that point, it was accepted. My timer. What's the reason why they did this? So Amar Zeiri, Amar Reb Chanina. Zeiri says the name of Reb Chanina. These are first generation Amiraim. Reb Chanina is in Eretz Yisrael. Okay, there's a concept here which it's not a common concept. Apparently, for something to get wet, for something to be susceptible to tumah, it needs to be a significant liquid. Now, what makes it significant? Well, there are certain items that are considered significant. There is one other thing that if you use impure baskets, so then the liquid that's in those impure baskets, for some reason, becomes considered a significant liquid. Now, what's happening here is that the liquid is becoming a liquid, well, a significant liquid, mashkin it's called, simultaneous with the tumah that's coming from the basket. And that's going to make the liquid into a liquid, into a liquid that's considered susceptible, that will make the grape susceptible to tumah. So there's this opinion that holds that if you use impure baskets, somehow it makes the liquid make the grape susceptible. So there's a decree that you might use these impure baskets while you're collecting the grapes, and it's going to make it a problem. Gemara says, there's only one opinion that holds that. Now, if you're going like that opinion, then good. Just because you have an impure vessel, that doesn't make, therefore, that the liquid that you didn't consider liquid to be now considered liquid because your vessel is impure. There's this other opinion that holds that doesn't work like that. So according to them, what's the problem? Why are you considering the liquid that's coming out, the juice that's coming out of the grape as one of the liquids that give off tumah? What is there to say? El Amar Ziri Amar Rabbi Chanina Gzer Shem Yevatzrena Bekupes Mezufafes. It's possible that you're going to use a vessel that that instead of using a basket that would allow the juice to drip out, you're going to use a vessel that is sealed so that all the juice gets collected. It's what's it called? You not insulated, but you sealed off all the holes. So, which means that you're now collecting that juice because you want it to turn into wine. You want that juice to be, you don't want to lose that. So if you don't want to lose it, then that means that this is a significant liquid that you're going to use that you're actually collecting. Okay, so which means that even if you don't use those vessels, but because you may use those vessels, we consider this juice that comes out to always be considered a liquid. Rav Amar, there's a problem of, it could be that there's grapes that are very close together. And when you separate them, you give out a little, it gives a little squeeze on the grape and the juice comes out. Now, we were discussing Baitzer Lagas, that the juice comes out of these grapes in a way that you did not do that by hand. You just, you didn't do that. It's just while you were taking it, the grapes burst, whatever, they were very ripe and the little juice came out. So that's the juice that we're talking about, which is Machlekes Shammai and Hillel. But it could be that there were grapes that were close together that you actually squeezed because you were separating the clusters or whatever you squeeze. If you squeeze it and it comes out, then that's already a significant liquid. So Rabbi says it's a gzeira because of the juice that you actually squeeze out when you're separating the grapes. Rav Nachman Amar Rabbi Baravur. Rav Nachman says the name of his father-in-law, Rabbi Baravur. Person needs to test the grapes to see how much juice there is, how ripe they are. Eily, is it ready to pick? It's very possible he takes one cluster of grapes and he squeezes it out to see how it squirts, to see the color maybe or whatever, and he lets it drip on the other grapes. When it comes time to harvest, those grapes are still wet. So that liquid that's still on it, was a liquid that he actually put there. Now it only becomes wet after it only becomes susceptible to tumah if it gets wet after it's harvested, not while it's otherwise it rains the whole whatever. But after it's harvested, that's when the issue shows up, and it turns out that it was still wet because it was at the harvest time that he was doing that squeezing. So that's another issue, and that's we have another gezeira here. That's Bisham and Bisil. Okay, we're by 12, 13, wherever we are. We're coming close to the 18. The Idach, another one. Amar Tavi Rishba. Tavi is usually the name of Rabbi Gamliel's servant that he was so proud of. He sat Shiva for him, and he was a Talmud Chacham. He was a slave, a non-Jewish slave. But here we have Tavi Rishba. Rishba this is not a Tana. Tavi was in the Tanaim, the slave of Rabbi Gamliel. This is a student of Shmuel. Tavi Rishba Shmuel. He was apparently a bird hunter. I saw the Aruch says that he was, Rishba is an acronym for Reish Beis Abba. He was the head of a large family. So that's an honorary title. But he says in the name of Shmuel, Afkeduli Truma Truma. If you take, you see, grain, the grain itself is the seeds that you're going to use for planting the following season. So let's say someone took Truma, and instead of giving it to the Kayan, he puts it back in the ground and he plants it. So now he has brand new plants. So they made a decree, you shouldn't do that, that growth is also considered Truma. Well, it's not the same seeds. It sprouts and then there's a stalk on the top with new kernels. But that's considered Truma. On that day, they made this gezerah that was on the attic of Chananich ben Chizki ben Goren. My timer, it's possible that there's going to be a fellow that's going to get stingy. He's going to separate his truma. He's going to eat all his produce. He says, I'm not going to give it to this guy. I'm not going to give it to that guy. And he saves it and he just plants it. So there's a decree that it's to make sure that he doesn't do that he doesn't get that sort of benefit from it. This will stop him from trying to do that, from saving the Truma Torah and not giving it. He's has found a trick and he's going to become stingy. Amar Rava says, whoa, 1 second. Are you suspecting someone for actually doing that? So why did he separate his truma? I'm skipping the parentheses. We have a possibility that he could have taken just one single kernel and said, this is my truma, and all his produce would have been exempt. He wouldn't have had, normally truma is trei mimeya, it's 1 out of 50, which is 2 out of 100. That's normally. But we have a statement that really you can get away with just taking one kernel. So if he's such a stingy guy, let him get away with just one kernel, and he's fine. And why does he have to take a proper truma, become like he's such a generous guy, and then he doesn't give it? So we're not concerned about that. If he's actually going to separate all of that, then we assume that he's going to give it as well. Oh, we have a different problem. Let's say truma becomes tamei. Now this is a total waste. Truma tamei, you have to burn. Truma tamei, you're supposed to burn it. If you leave it around, it's possible someone could eat it. You really have to get rid of it. Here's the guy, he doesn't want to get rid of it. He says, no, I'm not going to waste. He's like stingy. So he saves this truma tameya and he plants it the following season. So now we have a real concern. People may save the truma tameya, put it in the ground. They think that they're going to have perfectly fine produce from the truma tameya by planting it and sprouting it and all of that. We made a decree on them that they shouldn't be allowed to do that, because they're also going to let it hang around and they may end up eating it. So what's the decree? We said that if it grows, then that the growth is also considered truma. Is it considered truma tameya? I don't think so. Oh, I'm sorry. Rashi says that it's going to be tameya as well. Already truma tameya. It stays tummy. Doesn't get purified. Which makes sense, because otherwise, look, even if it's still truma, but so what? He was a kohen. He'll still be able to eat it. So it stays tummy. Taisvis has a question on that, because we have other sources that when you plant something, it becomes tar. Okay. V'idach, we're still looking for more decrees that to add up to the 18. Amar Reb Chia bar Ami Mishmei De'ula. Reb Chia bar Ami says in the name of Ula. Af mi shehechshech lei baderech meisen kisel nachri oibeyim gazru. Okay, originally, they allowed a person that was walking on Friday, that it got dark and he wasn't able to make it to his house. They allowed him to walk 4 cubits and stop. Under 4 cubits and stop. Under 4 cubits and stop. That way, he doesn't violate the laws of Shabbos outright. And we also have a concern that if we don't allow him to do this, he may end up carrying his wallet on Shabbos, because he'll be so overwhelmed by the loss that he won't be able to control himself, and he's going to violate Shabbos outright. So we said, okay, you can walk less than 4 cubits and stop, less than 4 cubits and stop. And then they made a decree that you should give your wallet to an attendant or whatever, someone, a non-Jew, that he should carry it for you. Normally, you don't have a non-Jew do work for you. This is a real malacha. But they said that he's allowed to do this. He's allowed to give it to a non-Jew. So that was a decree that they made. Also, that was that Shammai overpowered Beis Hillel in this. V'idach, we have another one. Amar Bali Amar Avimi Sanvesa. Bali says in the name of Avimi from Sanvesa. These are interesting names, but this is the Gemara in Avodah Zarah. It says Pitan v'Shamnan v'Yenan u'B'Neiseyim kulam yidches davarim. The bread, the oil, the wine, and the daughters of non-Jews are all from the 18 things. Okay, we got a whole bunch of here. The Gemara says, Hani Chalur Reb Meir. This fits well, according to Reb Meir. Now we have 18. I guess we had 14 before. And now plus this, or maybe it was, I don't know how many this is counting. This is counting it together. So, Elu Rabbi Yosi, Shabsri happened, but according to Rabbi Yosi, that said that there was a machlekes before, and they never made up. The Beis Hillel didn't agree to Beis Shammai in that case with the vessels in the courtyard, that catching the water, that if they'll passel the mikveh. Rabbi Yosi said that's still a machlekes. You don't have 18, you only have 17. The Gemara answers, okay. He says you have to divide this up. There were separate decrees. That's how, according to Rabbi Yosi, you're able to get to 18. Because the decree of the bread was really a decree based on the oil. First, they made a decree on the oil. Or actually, there's another step to this. First, they made a decree on the wine. And then they said, wine is of a non-Jew isn't good. So the oil of a non-Jew also isn't good. And then they said the oil of a non-Jew isn't good. So then there's also the bread of a non-Jew you can't use. Okay, the Gemara asks straight away, Al piton mishum shamnan, the bread because of oil, mayol meshem de pas. Why did you make a decree on the oil before the bread? Like, why was that the real significant one? And then the bread only came later. No, you have to do it differently. Bread and oil, the bread of a non-Jew and oil of a non-Jew, that was a decree only because of wine. Wine came first. Now, wine, we understand this first, because wine brings to a closeness. You're going to be drinking the wine of a non-Jew, you're going to get close to them. What's the issue? The wine was the issue. You may end up marrying their daughters. What's the issue if you marry the daughters? Well, there's a prohibition there, but that's going to lead you, like it says in the Torah, to worship idols. Davar acher is to something else. It doesn't want to say what it is, like yenamacha, right? Al davar acher, some other thing, which is idolatry. Al davar acher mishum davar acher. And this other thing is going to lead to that other thing. So what was that other thing? My davar acher, what is the other thing? Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak gozer al tinek nachrishim metame beziva shlei tinek Yisrael regelas mishkav zacher. They made a decree that a non-Jewish child is considered tamei. Even though he's just a young child, it's not probable for him to become a zav, a boy. We consider him a zav. We consider him tamei. Why? So he shouldn't hang out with the Jewish boys, and that would lead to because the non-Jewish children are not trusted for homosexuality. So we said that they're tamei, and so therefore the Jewish children would keep the distance from them. Whoa, you've added a bunch of decrees here. According to Reb Meir, you have 19. It says that we said in the middle, that we said at the beginning, when we gave our first list of 9, or we said maybe it was 8. We said that food and vessels that became tamei were from liquid, so that the food and vessels could become tamei from liquid, even though the liquid is considered a sheni. A sheni shouldn't make liquid. The liquid is considered rishon, but a rishon shouldn't make vessels tamei. But nevertheless, it does. It makes it tamei. That you can join those two together, that food and vessels become one, which take away one, which allows Reb Meir to have just a total of 18. Okay, let's start the new Mishnah. So, famous Mishnah, famous machlokes rather. It has to do with shvisas kelim. A Jew needs to rest on Shabbos. He can't do work. But what about all his utensils? Do they also need to rest? Can you set things up? So in our homes, we do have things set up. We do, the lights are on and the fires are burning, things are cooking and all of that. Beis Shammai says, Ein sherin diyoy v'samana v'karshinim. You can't soak ink, other dyes, and karshinim is, the English said vetch. It's a type of animal food. It might have been used for dyes as well. On Friday afternoon, if you're going to set this up, you have to have set it up early enough that it should give off the color during the day, because you can't have your utensils dyeing on giving off the color on Shabbos. So you have to set it up that it should be done before Shabbos. Beisil Matir and Beisil says, no, you didn't do the malacha. You put it in before Shabbos. It's fine, just leave it. There was a way of making flax white. They would put it into the oven, and that would whiten it. So if you're going to put this into the oven, Beis Shammai says that you can't put it in Friday afternoon unless you put it in early enough that chemical reaction should take place during the day, and should not take place on Shabbos. Also, if you're putting the wool into a vat to absorb the ink, to absorb the dye, so that has to be done early enough that it should take place before Shabbos. Beisil Matir, all of these things, Beisil is Matir. You can't set up traps to trap a wild animal, a bird or fish, and leave it there Erev Shabbos, that it should catch the fish on Shabbos, unless you set it up early enough that the fish or whatever it is, the birds, should be caught during the day. Basil Matir, Basil says it's not a problem. If you're selling something to a non-Jew, you can't sell it to him very close to Shabbos and then load it up for him unless he could reach his location before Shabbos. Basil Matirin. Basil says it's not a problem. Bishama says, you can't put the hide, you can't give the hide to the tanner, and you can't give clothing to a laundromat, unless they could get the work done while it's still Erev Shabbos. All of these, Basil allows, Ima Shemesh, right before sunset. As long as the sun is still up, you can still do this. Amar Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. Shimon ben Gamliel says, Nayigin, Hayu Beis Abba. Shimon ben Gamliel says that although Reb Shimon ben Gamliel is a descendant of Beis Hillel, the house of the Nasi, he says, but nevertheless, my father's family was strict. She'yanaisnin Eily le Klei Lavan lekayvis nachri shleishim kedem Shabbos. They would give their laundry to be washed 3 days before Shabbos. In other words, enough time so that it should get done. However, everyone does agree that you are allowed to put the heavy weights of a olive press or a wine press onto the grapes or the olives before Shabbos and let it continue pressing. That everyone agrees is allowed. Okay, the discussion of this Mishnah we'll learn Mitzvah Shem tomorrow. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeshua.
Have a great day, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Healthy.
Okay. Yeah, amen. Everyone should be well.
Amen.
Thank you.
Okay. Hatzlacha.
Thank you, Rabbi. Have a good day.
Have a good day. Jimmy, send regards.
Thank you.